Let me ask you a question. And I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and felt utterly, completely defeated? Not just a bad day. Not a minor setback. I am talking about the kind of failure that strips you down to your absolute core. The kind of failure where the ground beneath you doesn't just crumble, it vanishes entirely. You are lying there at rock bottom, the bitter taste of inadequacy heavy in your mouth, and the world just keeps spinning as if your devastation means absolutely nothing. And here is the harsh, uncomfortable truth that most people will never tell you: it doesn't. The world doesn't care that you fell. No one is coming to wave a magic wand and pull you out of the dirt. If you are waiting for a savior, you are going to die waiting. The answer is both terrifyingly simple and brutally difficult. You don't find the door. You realize the walls were an illusion all along. To break free, you must understand a fundamental principle of human behavior: action precedes motivation. Right now, you are lying in the wreckage of your failure, waiting for a magical wave of inspiration to wash over you. You are waiting to feel better before you start doing better. In behavioral psychology, we call the antidote to this behavioral activation. It is the scientifically proven understanding that motivation does not cause action, action causes motivation. When you are at rock bottom, your brain is starved of dopamine. You feel numb, paralyzed, and defeated. If you wait until you feel like it to rebuild your life, you will rot at the bottom of that pit. You have to force the gears to turn manually. You do this through the power of micro-commitments to rebuild what psychologist Albert Bandura called self-efficacy, your fundamental belief in your own capacity to execute behaviors necessary to produce specific performance attainments. Right now, your self-efficacy is completely shattered. You don't trust yourself anymore because you failed. So, you must demand undeniable proof of your competence. Starting incredibly small. I am not telling you to go out and build $1 million empire tomorrow. I am telling you to get out of bed. Make the bed. Take a shower. Go for a 10-minute walk. Send one email. Apply for one job. Read one chapter. To the depressed, traumatized brain, these are not small tasks. They are monumental victories. Every time you complete a micro-commitment, you are literally utilizing neuroplasticity to rewire your brain. You carve a brand new neural pathway that whispers, "Maybe I am not helpless after all. Maybe I do have control." You stack one tiny, insignificant win on top of another, day after day, until you build a ladder of momentum out of the abyss. And as you climb, I want you to completely reframe how you view the scars this failure has left on you. There is a breathtaking centuries-old Japanese art form called kintsugi. When a valuable ceramic bowl drops and shatters into pieces, the artists do not throw the broken shards in the trash. They do not view the bowl as ruined. Instead, they painstakingly glue the pieces back together using lacquer mixed with pure, powdered gold. The philosophy behind kintsugi is profound. The breakage and the repair are not things to be hidden. They are integral parts of the object's history. The bowl is actually considered vastly more beautiful, more unique, and more valuable because it has been broken and put back together. You are that bowl, this failure, this humiliating defeat, this agonizing rock bottom. These are your cracks. Right now, you are looking at your shattered pieces and thinking you are worthless garbage. But the truth is, a life lived without failure is a life lived in the shallows. It means you never risked. You never pushed your boundaries. You never truly stepped into the arena. The most extraordinary, resilient, and deeply compassionate human beings on this planet are not the ones who were handed a perfect life. They are the ones who were broken by the world, who stared into the absolute darkness, and who chose to fill their own cracks with gold. They took their pain and transmuted it into wisdom. They took their rejection and turned it into relentless drive. They took their rock bottom and used it as the most solid foundation imaginable to build a masterpiece. Your story does not end here, in the dirt. This is merely the end of a chapter. It is the inciting incident of the greatest comeback story of your life. The person you were before this failure was not strong enough to hold the weight of the destiny that is waiting for you. You had to break. The old you had to be destroyed so the ultimate version of you could be forged in the fire of this adversity. So, I am challenging you right now. Take a deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs. That is the feeling of being alive. That is the feeling of a second chance. Stop apologizing for your scars. Stop bowing your head in shame. It is time to make a choice. You can let this failure be your tombstone, or you can let it be your stepping stone. If you are ready to choose the latter, I want you to go to the comments down below right now and type these exact words: I am rebuilding. Make that public declaration. Claim your agency. Leave the victim in the ashes. Stand up, and let's get back to work. Your future is waiting for you to fight for it. Rise. But here is the secret. The fact that you are down right now, in this exact moment of pain, is exactly where your true power begins. Before we dive deep into the behavioral psychology of how to rewire your brain to climb out of this abyss, I want you to do something. If you have ever felt this agonizing pain and you are finally ready to turn it into your greatest weapon, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right now. By joining this community, you are making a psychological commitment to stop playing the victim and start rewriting your story. Do it now, and let's get to work on getting you out of this hole. You see, as a behavioral psychologist, I look at failure very differently than you do. When you hit rock bottom, you think it's a reflection of your worth. You think it's the universe giving you a final, failing grade as a human being. But it's not. What you are experiencing right now is a dangerous psychological phenomenon known as cognitive fusion, deeply compounded by learned helplessness. I call it the invisible cage. Let's break down what is actually happening in your brain. When you experience a massive failure, your business goes under, a marriage falls apart, you get fired, or you lose everything you have relentlessly worked for, your brain goes into high alert. Your amygdala, the primitive fear center of your brain, completely hijacks your logical thinking. It pumps your nervous system full of cortisol. In this state of primal panic, a tragic psychological error occurs. You stop looking at the failure as an event that happened to you, and you start absorbing it as an identity. You stop saying, "I failed at this task," and you start believing with every fiber of your being, "I am a failure." This is the invisible cage. It's the exact same mechanism we see in the classic behavioral experiments with circus elephants. When an elephant is just a baby, trainers tie its leg to a heavy wooden stake driven deep into the ground. The baby pulls, tugs, and fights with all of its might, but it simply isn't strong enough to break free. After weeks of exhausting, painful struggle, the baby elephant finally gives up. It learns a deadly psychological lesson: struggle is pointless. Fast forward 5 years, that same elephant is now a massive, 5-ton powerhouse. It could effortlessly rip that wooden stake out of the ground like a dry twig. But it doesn't even try. Why? Because the chains are no longer on its physical leg. The chains are in its mind. That is exactly what your rock bottom has done to you. The failure you experienced inflicted so much emotional pain that your brain, in a misguided attempt to protect you from future disappointment, has convinced you that trying again is useless. Furthermore, this cage is reinforced by what psychologists call a fixed mindset. You begin to believe your abilities and your worth are static. You use your failure as empirical evidence to convict yourself in the court of your own mind. You are sitting in the dark, staring at the bars of a cage that doesn't exist, convincing yourself that your life is over, that you are too old, too broke, too damaged, or too far behind to ever make a comeback. You are letting a temporary event dictate your permanent identity. Wake up. The pain you feel right now in your chest, that suffocating anxiety keeping you awake at 3 a.m., that isn't the feeling of an ending. That is the feeling of friction. That is the necessary psychological burn of your old, weak identity being violently torn away so something significantly stronger can take its place. Rock bottom is not a burial ground. It is a construction site. But you cannot build anything new until you accept absolute accountability for the destruction. It is so intoxicatingly easy to play the victim, to blame the economy, to blame your boss, To blame your ex. To blame the unfair system. The victim mentality is a warm, comfortable blanket that protects your fragile ego, but it is also the very shroud that will suffocate your dreams. Blame feels incredibly good in the moment, but it strips you of all your agency. If it's someone else's fault, then it requires someone else to fix it. And remember what we established at the beginning: no one is coming. The greatest motivational lie ever told is that success is a straight line. It is not. It is a violent, messy, agonizing process of falling down, getting your teeth kicked in by life, and having to find a reason to stand back up. But how do you actually do that? How do you rewire your brain when you have zero motivation, zero money, and zero hope? How do you break out of the invisible cage when you can't even find the door?